I always start these videos by saying the Me Too movement has done some really important things. A lot of creepy, disgusting, awful men have been removed from positions of power by the Me Too movement, and that is a good thing. In fact, it's an amazing thing. But there has been some backfiring. Now, the backfiring isn't as bad necessarily, but hey, look, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. In this instance, we can see study after study showing that men are now refusing to work with women. They don't want to hire women. And we have another story. This one from The Guardian. Men now avoid women at work. Another sign we're being punished for Me Too. You're not being punished? Here's the thing. There's a fear over false accusations. No one is punishing anyone else. They're being more skittish and more cautious. But because you want everything, you call it punishment. Here's the thing. If you want creepy, in the workplace, okay, there is a dynamic between men and women. It's different between men and men. And this is one thing I've highlighted in many of these videos. The best example, for those that aren't familiar with the point, is that a guy can talk about another guy's looks and pat him on the shoulder with no problem. He can't do that with a woman. A guy can say, wow, you're looking great, man. It's a fantastic outfit. And it can be taken very differently if it's a man and a woman or a woman and a man. Get it? So the point is, no one's punishing you. But this is the reality of life. Men and women are different, and if women want to be protected, don't be surprised when men start behaving differently. And, Jordan Peterson said, we'll see what happens between men and women working together in the workplace. But if you think it's punishment that a man says, I'm going to back away and give you space and not, risk offending you, well, that's what you asked for the most part. So let's read this story. They say a new study has found U.S. men appear to be following Mike Pence's lead. Maybe they're angry that Me Too ever happened. No, that's insane. But before we get started, I'm going to do something I rarely do ever. I have a sponsor for today's video, Virtual Shield, and I give them a shout out every so often because they were my first sponsor and they've stuck with me the whole time. And I don't really do promos for them very, very often. If you go to the website hidewithtim.com, you can get a virtual private network for just about $4 per month. They have a promo deal going on. It's 20% off. If you're not familiar, a VPN is just a simple layer of security. It can help hide your data when you're browsing on the web. It can protect you from nefarious actors, from governments, from, people want to steal your data. I always put it like this. We don't expect people to break into our houses, but we still lock our front door and we lock our windows. When you're browsing the web, there are vulnerabilities and there is data and private information being exposed. So if you're concerned and you want to learn more, go to hidewithtim.com and you can get this VPN from Virtual Shield. And I'll stress one more point on this. This company has been fantastic to me. Almost all of my videos get demonetized, which means there's very little revenue from particularly this channel. Like this video, I guarantee you'll be demonetized. So Virtual Shield is helping me pick up the slack and bring you this information. Again, hidewithtim.com. Let's get back to the news. The Guardian reports, it looks like Mike Pence is quite the trendsetter. The U.S. vice president famously refuses to have dinner alone with any woman who isn't his wife. And now working men across corporate America appear to be following his lead. No, it's just a phenomenon triggered by a fear that a man will either offend a woman or be falsely accused. Consider that maybe the reason men are avoiding one-on-one meetings with women is because women said, we don't like this behavior, and men said, I'm going to back away. I'm going to back away. A new study due to be published in the journal Organizational Dynamics has found that following the Me Too movement, men are significantly more reluctant to interact with their female colleagues. A few highlights from the research include 27% of men avoid one-on-one meetings with female coworkers. Yep, that's right. Almost a third of men are terrified to be alone in a room with a woman for two reasons. Either you could potentially offend the woman or she could lie. And consider this. It is infinitely more likely for many people that the woman will just be made uncomfortable and then say, this guy said something inappropriate and the guy will get in trouble. Again, point. A guy could walk up to another guy and say, hey man, you're looking good. You've been hitting the gym? He walks up to a woman and says, ooh, wow, you're looking good. You hitting the gym? Guess which one gets you in trouble? 21% of men said they would be reluctant to hire women for a job that would require close interaction, such as business travel. I can't blame them. Because you don't know what you could say that would be offensive to a woman. And every woman is different. Some women will be okay with it, some won't. And there's still a risk of a Me Too circumstance with a guy, but it's much less likely. If you can't tell what a woman will be okay with, well then what are you supposed to do? This is the logical conclusion. 19% of men would be reluctant to hire an attractive woman. Now that one seems kind of weird to me. I don't know what attractive has to do with it, but let's carry on. Because apparently, women had the same reaction. The data above was collected in early 2019 from workers across a wide range of industries. Researchers had asked the same questions, albeit to different people and with more of a focus on future expectations. In early 2018, just as Me Too was in full swing, and depressingly, things appear to have gotten worse. In 2018, for example, 15% of men said they would be more reluctant to hire women for jobs that require close interpersonal interactions with women, compared to 21% in 2019. And there it is, the main takeaway. The Me Too backlash is getting worse. And with this article, it will only continue to get worse. It doesn't mean it's worse than the problem before Me Too. And it's the funniest thing. Simply because I'm highlighting the backlash, I have people being like, Tim Pool is downplaying or insulting Me Too. It's like, whoa, I think Me Too was overall like a really great thing. But we still have to talk about the ramifications, right? We have to have the conversation, right? Because now look, it's not just men who are afraid of women, by the way. Women also appear to be increasingly wary of hiring women. That's weird. The 2018 survey results found that more than 10% of men and women said they expected to be less willing than before to hire attractive women. Note, the 2019 results for women are not yet public. Internalized misogyny really is a B. I have an extension now that blurs swear words. Isn't that amazing? Because of YouTube. Hey, don't blame me. There's been a lot of talk about gray areas in Me Too. All this harassment business is very difficult for men. We are told because nobody even knows what sexual harassment is anymore. Men are afraid to even shake a woman's hand in case she thinks it's harassment. Yeah, but please don't exaggerate. The point I want to drive home is that I can pat a dude on the shoulder and say, hey, good to see you. I can touch their elbow. I can shake their hand. I can give them a pat on the back. And it's all fine. But you can't do that with a woman. Okay? Now that that's clear, let's move on. Easier to just avoid contact altogether. Yes, absolutely. What's really interesting about the study, however, is that it thoroughly debunks the argument that men are confused about what constitutes unacceptable behavior. The very first thing researchers did was look at 19 behaviors, emailing sexual jokes to a subordinate, for example, and get people to classify it as harassment or not. Surprise, surprise, both genders basically agreed on what harassment entails. That is so, this woman clearly doesn't understand. She can't see patterns, and it's really frustrating. Most men know what harassment is, and most women know what it is. Right. And the point is, the same behavior isn't harassment if you say it to a guy. I can tell a guy a joke and it's fine. I can't tell that joke to a woman. Are we done here? No, we're not. They say, the idea that men don't know their behavior is bad and that women are making a mountain out of a molehill is largely untrue. If anything, women are more lenient in defining harassment. Yes. And so a man has to choose. Do I want to be able to laugh and pat someone on the back and make a joke, or do I want to hire the woman and not be able to do that? If that's what they're saying in the study. The point is, if men can say this to a woman and they know they're not allowed to, listen, they answer their own question. Why are men avoiding one-on-one meetings with women? Why are men not hiring women? Because they all agree they can't tell even a joke. Netflix special with Dave Chappelle. Huge. Famous. $60 million contract or something like that. Ridiculous amount of money. That's how big it was. You cannot tell Dave Chappelle jokes, at least many of them, to women. He made crude comments about women sexually. But you can tell a guy. Now, a guy can still complain, but I'll tell you this. Most guys probably would assume a guy wouldn't care. And maybe that's the real bias. A bias that men don't care. Well, men don't, for the most part, they say. So there you go. Most men are perfectly aware of the difference between a friendly hug and a creepy hug. They are perfectly... No, what? No, they don't. That wasn't even part of the question you asked. We're talking about jokes. They are perfectly aware of what constitutes harassment and what doesn't. Which makes you wonder why so many men are afraid to interact with women at work. Because a woman is substantially more likely to complain about normal interactions that you could have with a man? The answer to that question, perhaps, is that a lot of men aren't so much afraid of being accused of anything as they are angry that Me Too ever happened. Oh, please spare me. They're angry that they've been made to think about their behavior, made to interrogate power dynamics that always... You know what, man? The biggest problem I have with the intersectional group is that they can't imagine that there are other factors involved. Literally everything that exists in their world is the patriarchy. There was a really funny thing I read. When a frat bro is at a club trying to pressure you into sex, it's not because he's trying to bolster the patriarchy. He wants to get laid. It's not because they're angry that you made them check their privilege. It's because they're like, Bob loves these jokes, Sharon doesn't. Sharon is not fun to hang out with. End of story. It's really that simple. It's worth noting, I think, that the Harvard Business Review article previewing the study of 2019's results is headlined, "The Me Too Backlash." You see that phrase a lot, and the framing subtly implies that Me Too went too far. It did. That a backlash is only natural. It is. It's yet another form of victim blaming. It's not. Another way to quietly put women back in their place. It's not. I'll tell you what it is. It's people like Aziz Ansari and Chris Hardwick getting in trouble for doing literally nothing wrong. And then you have guys saying, okay, if women as a whole don't like this kind of behavior, I won't interact with women. They want men to say, I will just tell no jokes ever again. No, like if a guy wants to tell a guy a joke, he should be allowed to do it. If you're offended by it, well, that's on you. And yes, guys understand the difference of what makes something harassment, but they also know men are less likely to feel harassed than a woman will. And if that's the case, don't be surprised as the backlash grows worse, because the stats show us it is getting worse. But listen, that doesn't mean Me Too was bad. It just means, look, you can't expect to take down the powerful people you did without something back, without some kind of backlash. Even when you fire a firearm, there's a recoil. And there you go. And you get covered in GSR, whatever. Stick around. A couple more segments coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.